right? We'll give it a second to kick in here, and let's see if we're firing up on YouTube and if we're on Facebook. Hello, everybody. If you're joining us, I'm here today with the legend, Happy Jack Yoga. Sir Jack, say hello. Tell him what's going on with your style, your glasses today.
Hey, namaste, friends. Leland's giving me a hard time. I've got my blue light glasses. I got two options. So either I got these style here, but it's a sunny day in Canada, so I got a little bit of sun protection. But yeah, man, I mean, here's the deal. You may think as a yoga teacher building an online business, it's all about out there teaching yoga classes. The reality is 99% of what I do is sitting here at a computer or recording videos, creating great content. So it's, I mean, that's the mindset, right? Of being a business owner versus out there just being an artist delivering. And it doesn't mean we don't want to create a lifestyle that lets us teach, but reality is we do have to sit at computers. So I got the blue light glasses. Thanks, Cole.
Yeah, well, and Sarah actually really likes those. From not from a style perspective. She probably likes those from a style perspective as well. But from a helping her sleep perspective, because Sarah spends a lot of time in front of a computer, and so as we jump into some of the Q&A questions here, optimizing your sleep and your performance is really important if you're gonna have an online business successfully. So. Yeah, and you look great. So win.
Hey, well, while you mentioned that sleep, I just got to do a quick shameless plug at Happy Jack University, Happy Jack Yoga University. On April the 12th, our Yoga Nidra training begins, and that is yogic sleep. So it's actually all about using the ancient yoga practices to get a better sleep. Yes, this is a new technology, and there's some old wisdom. So anybody out there who wants to sleep better, let us know.
I didn't know that. Are you guys doing dream yoga at all? Does that layer on top? I'm reading a book on dream yoga right now, but I don't know if those are different verticals within the yoga.
It's a good question. I mean, Hanna's the lead facilitator. I'm actually not familiar with dream yoga, but now that you say that, I got to check it out.
Oh man, we should talk about it. There's some interesting practices about it. I thought about, well, we'll talk about it another time. Let's jump into frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
So we sent out an email, and we have some questions that people have prompted us to talk about, and we'll just go down the list here. But let's start with the people who very recently emailed us back. And so the first question was from Steve, and Steve was asking about how we build on social media and maintain our privacy. How you build on social media and maintain your privacy. And so for Sarah Beth Yoga, she's very protective of anything that is public and being friends with people who are friends with Sarah Beth Yoga. So she has a pretty hard line of people who get into her private life. But it's on some level, it's kind of inevitable if you're building a personal brand. There's going to be some sense of your privacy is going to be at stake a little bit when you're doing internet marketing. I personally think that personal privacy is kind of a thing of the past. If you know how cell phones work and you know how triangulation works, we have the illusion of personal privacy, not to be a total damper, but it's an illusion. I mean, people, you know what I mean? If people want to figure out where you are when you are, it's not super hard, especially if you know how the technology works. So my advice would be, you don't really have personal privacy. So you're always building your brand when you post. If you're very concerned about the personal privacy thing, it might not be a route that you want to take, right? And for me personally, Jack, and I'd love, because you actually have more of a brand. For me personally, I don't have a personal brand, and I don't post stuff on social media, short of us going live here. It's not something that I personally like doing. I like helping people who do build personal brands, though. So, Jack, what's your perspective on privacy and posting on social media?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, really, it depends on a person's preference. Like, I totally respect Sarah, and I know her style, and she wants to keep privacy. You guys got a young family. Me, I'm quite an open book. Like, probably 10 years ago, I was featured in a book based in Finland, where I shared all of my deepest, darkest secrets. Like, it's kind of like that Eminem song where he's doing that rap battle, and he's like, yeah, I'm trailer trash. Yeah, my friend shot himself in the foot. Yeah. And I'm not saying that I'm doing that or we should do that. but my style is like, there's nothing that I don't share. And so I'm very comfortable with that, but I get that not everybody's the same. I think a conversation is around boundaries though. So like you say, Leland, like there's information is available to everybody pretty easily, but it is important as yogis, as business owners to set boundaries. Because certainly as we put ourselves out there more and we have more opt-in pages and we send more emails and all of these kinds of things, you know, it's easier for people to get in touch with us. And I know me, the people pleaser in me, I want to respond to everybody. And I feel like compelled to respond quickly. In fact, like my phone goes on airplane mode now every day at 5 p.m. And there's a part of me that feels guilty because I send a text message at 4 p.m. and I'm like, shit, that person's probably responding, but I'm not going to get it till the next day. But it's just for mental health. It's really important for me. So I think at least a sister conversation with privacy is boundaries and really creating, creating basically space where you can be away from the busyness.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I think that, to answer Steve's question, there's not an answer. It's, it's going to be personal for everybody. So I like testing things. So, if you put some stuff out there and it makes you feel uncomfortable or it just doesn't feel good. But I think Jack's approach for people who are, if you've shared a lot of stuff, it's easier to be public. And it's not that, it's just not for everybody is a good answer, right?
Yeah. It's a choice. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of, you've heard Hollywood celebrities share. It's like, there's aspects of being that A-list celebrity that freaking suck. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything, but obviously a lot of perks come from it. So I guess you got to really decide, what is your vision? Some people, they do want to be well-known. Some people actually, they want the significance of being famous. So you got to decide what is true for you.
Yep. Yeah. And yes. So privacy, kind of make your own choice, but test it. Don't not get started because you think you won't like it, because there's so much stuff going on the internet that if you don't like it, you can just pull back and the rest of the world's internet will just swallow you up, right? The world's going to ignore you. You're not, the world will ignore you on the internet. Don't worry. As soon as you start trying to cultivate attention, you realize how hard it is to cultivate attention on the internet, right? Even Jack with his wonderful red glasses, right?
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, not to put a damper on our potential and our reach, but there's so much content that we put out there that very few people actually see it. Like we have, it blows my mind. Like we have 7,500 Facebook followers. And when we put up a post, there's like 5, 10, 20 people that see it kind of thing or comment or like it. So doesn't mean that we don't want to be consistent, put ourselves out there. But, certainly when we're getting started, yeah, I mean, the reach isn't huge to begin with, but decide what's true for you.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So let's jump to Laura's question. So Laura just I believe she just passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yes. Bravo. Nice. And so she was wondering how to use the community tab or how we use the community tab. And so I think of the community tab very similar to a email broadcast. Like that's how we think about it in terms of usage. So, if we come out with a new video, Laura, if you're uploading a new video on Monday, we might post in the community tab the day before on a Sunday and just say, hey, new video coming tomorrow, right? And then we don't post on the day that you post a new video because your video is going to show up already on the community tab because that's how the community tab works. So if you post twice, then it looks like you're spamming because your stuff shows up back to back on a community tab. So on the day of, we don't post, and then we do post again the day after, usually. So because we want to maximize that view velocity. So, hey, we're coming out with a video tomorrow. Check it out. Video gets uploaded. That gets published automatically to the community tab. And then we send a follow-up the next day saying, go check out this video. And then that's just for YouTube. And then we do the same thing if we're doing like a flash sale. We treat the community tab very similar to an email broadcast. So we will drive sales the same way that we use email. But we use email in a very unique way. Laura's familiar with kind of the strategies we use: view velocity and quick flash sales.
Yeah.
Jack, any feedback? I know you recently crossed the 1,000 threshold as well. Have you started using the community tab, and any advice for Laura?
I mean, we did set it up per your suggestion, Leland, but to be honest, we haven't really leveraged it or used it much. You're definitely the expert. What you said is the right answer. I mean, what I would add is, and what I would maybe bring the conversation now, one of the other questions was around consistency. You know, so I guess if somebody is consistently putting out content, just, you know, uploading videos, then it's like, okay, how else? What's the next step to get it in front of more people? I think for a lot of us, you know, myself included, we're still not at the consistent spot. You know, we're on for 3 months, off for 3 months, which is not recommended. And so if I could ask the question, because I know it came up, what are some of the options with regards to consistency?
Yeah, consistency was one of the big questions. So everybody's different, right? Shocking. So I like to say that the BAM, the bare ass minimum, is once per week, but that's like this YouTube mantra that people who are in the YouTube circles say. Like, it's just a thing that people say, right? And so I'm not necessarily convinced that it's true. I know Sarah has violated the, she uploads once a month now. You know, she's got a lot of subscribers, and so I don't think it's once per week, but YouTube exists to serve your business, right? One of the things that took us a while to figure out was that, we are in this to, create a muse, right? Passive revenue that frees us up to go live the life that we really want to live, right? So that's how we started. And so your YouTube channel exists to serve that purpose. So the question isn't how often should you upload to YouTube, because that's further downstream. The question is, what's your target monthly income? And then like, how does YouTube fit into getting you there? Right. And so for a lot of people that we work with, they'll do one challenge per week, or one challenge per month, excuse me. So 5-day challenge, 7-day challenge, one per month. And then that's their upload schedule for YouTube. So the challenge will come with 5 or 7 videos consistently, and then they'll be done. And then they'll do it again, next month. And then that's consistency, right? It's one challenge per month. One video per week has worked. Some people upload more frequently. So I like to think about uploading and YouTube very similar to like kind of like a war, where in like a more friendly, less severe example, but you're competing for keywords, and you're assaulting those keywords with videos. So the more videos you can create around specific topics, the more likely you are to be successful, right? And so the strategy would be to create as many as needed to hit your goals with your business, right? It's not, so if you ask like, oh, how often should I upload to YouTube? And I say once per week, go away. And you upload for once per week, and you come back in a year and you're like, hey, why isn't my business growing? It's like, well, because uploading consistently to YouTube isn't the goal, right? It's not the outcome. And so the goal or the outcome answers the question, how often should you upload to YouTube, right? And in my mind, I'm not saying that that's, for people who are building YouTube channels, the typical answer is once per week, right? That's the typical answer. But you see all the best people violate it. So, it's more about creating a good video that has good watch time, right? And that's one of the reasons why we like challenges, as you know, is that you get people who go to the challenges and they're not just watching one video for a long time. They're watching 5 videos with the same keyword for a really long time, right? Yeah. And watch time is the algorithm, like that's the lead domino metric. So if you can get people watching your videos for long times, then it's easier to be successful really fast. And challenges for fitness, right, have been really successful. And if you do it monthly, then you just get a lot of watch time. Very long answer.
And if we were to say that another way, I guess there's also more value in doing like essentially uploading content that's totally aligned with your offer and what it is that you deliver, and those keywords, and having that less frequent versus putting out videos all the time that are kind of random and all over the place. Like, you remember when we started, One day I'm teaching yoga wearing hockey equipment, and the next day teaching yoga for alcoholics, and then the next day yoga. Really just we were finding our voice and figuring out what to do. And now we've honed it in on, hey, the 200-hour yoga teacher training, that's our bread and butter. That's what we've done for years. That's always the entry point. So now really our intention going forward is to have everything aligned with that versus just making shit up.
Yeah. And in the YBB, and you know this, but we call that the most profitable keyword. So as you're creating content, not all keywords are going to be equal for your business. And that's why the business has to come first, because Happy Jack Yoga can't answer the question, what videos are the best videos to create, until he figures out what's his offer. And Jack's offer is to get all your certifications online, right? So, okay, if that's the outcome, then these videos make sense, right? And that's why a lot of people start the YouTube thing first, and then they create videos, and then they try to reverse engineer the titles. But really, like, you're an expert in whatever you're an expert in. You can't come to the table you can't make up expertise, right? So you should sit down, what am I an expert in? And then you create videos on things that you're an expert in. And those videos drive people to your business. And that's how, and that's how YouTube's made. So, but yeah, Jack, 100%. I think you guys pivoting to the 200-hour is going to be awesome for your business. I'm excited to see. And then just, double down, triple down, and win that most profitable keyword. And then you can win all the traffic, become the lead authority. I was doing an interesting business training the other day before we go to the next question. And they were talking about Gary Vee, and they were talking about how you become an authority in your niche. And they're like, it's actually not as complicated as you think. Here's a list of words. And there's a list of like 20, 30 words that were all or nothing type words. And if you just say these words, you will be perceived as an authority. And he goes, the funny thing about it is none of this stuff's true ever, because the world's not definitive one way or the other, right? So Gary Vee will say, right now is the best time to be in marketing. It's like
always right now.
Yeah, well, it's like it doesn't matter, but the fact that he's saying right now is the best time, it's never been better. The fact that it's a definitive statement is the key to being an authority. And so they give you this list of definitive statements that you can make, and then the caveat is you can't be full of shit. Right. Because you can make definitive statements, but if you just make definitive statements to be full of shit and get attention, then it's going to backfire on you eventually. But it's just funny because people want to be perceived as authority, and you need to be definitive. But what a lot of smart people do is they think, well, I'm an authority, so I'm ambivalent, right? So I know that there are two sides to every coin, right? And I want to show that I am balanced, but that doesn't work because then you're not perceived as an authority. Anyway, I'll show you the list of words later. It's really funny. For me, it was one of those, we have a list of aha moments. I was like, oh, that is what it is. They're just saying these things that are more firm. All right, so next question. All right, so some of the other topics. Why does your email list equal money? Why does your email list equal more money? And I could talk about this, but Jack, what are your thoughts on why does your email list equal more money?
So like I was saying earlier, my experience is with an email list, we have the ability to communicate directly into somebody's inbox. Even though we got 7,000 Facebook followers, we put up a post, there's such small engagement, especially if we don't put any ad money against it. But versus an email, that goes right to their inbox. And it's kind of like the old school. We used to make business cards or marketing flyers, and at festivals and conferences, we're handing them out. But then the responsibility is on that person to actually keep the card and save the email and take some action. So it's just the most effective way to communicate and to have somebody receive your message. And so, of course, primarily we want to add value, but then that's our opportunity to sell there as well.
Yeah. And so one of the epiphanies that came out in our coaching call a couple days ago was that your email list equals your money. And the thought that Cole, the guy who brought it up, said was that, if you have 100,000 people on your email list and you send them something, it's way easier to make money than if you have 0 people on your email list or if you have 10 people on your email list. And so just the idea or the shift from what is internet marketing, right? Well, your money is in your email list. Like that's what internet marketing is. So everything should be driving to your email list, because if you have a big email list, you can basically send out really easy. Send out a couple emails, make some money, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be, and beyond that, it gets really complicated because how often should I post on Facebook? How often should I upload to YouTube, right? What should my sales funnel be? What should my, all of the other things are all around email list, right? Building your email list and driving people to your email list. So that was one of the things that came up was, why does your email list equal money? Because if you have a big email list, it's easier to make money. That's so true. Can't be anything more can be said about it.
And I'll just add that one of my coaches said one time, he said that an email list of 10,000 subscribers that are well served, it can equal $1 million business. Now that's not always true. It's not, there's so many different variables, but if you have 10,000 qualified leads in your email list and you add value and you deliver value and you serve them well, that can be a 7-figure business. So that's something to think about. Like if somebody's there thinking like, okay, well, I got 1,000 people, I'm way off, but that's a 6-figure business. That's the potential there.
Yeah. And you and I've talked a little bit about this too, but you had, when we first started working together, you had what some people would consider a small list. Some people would say it was really big, but it wasn't more than 10,000. Right. And you had, because of that list, there's a thing called list envy, right? And this is what you're talking about. It's like, oh, they have a huge list over there. My list is really small. But Jack's list was really, really loyal, and they all loved him. They were hand built. And so it was a true valuable list. It wasn't just a number of people who had signed up for something one time. Right. And so the quality of your list is way more important. Right. You can make, and one of the things that we're also talking about that new people don't quite understand is that you can offer people BDA, before, during, and after services, BDA services. So if Jack is just doing, yoga teacher training 200-hour, that's great, right? He can get a lot of people their 200-hour certification, but he also can offer them an after service, which might be a yin training or an ongoing certification. And I know he does this with his university. Right. But a lot of people, when they get started, they think that they can only make money off their list by offering them one thing. And really, they can offer services before their actual service, after their actual service. They can offer proximity partners. As long as you're adding value, right, and you're delivering the transformation to the people who are on your email list, as long as you're adding value to them, it's fair game to sell them whatever you want. As long as, but the BDA services, right, has been really powerful for us to think about. What can we offer them before, after, right? A yoga mat. If they're going to be a yoga teacher, at some point they might want a yoga mat. So you could sell them a yoga mat, right? Cool. So 200 hours. So one of the things that came out was why is a 200-hour better online, or why could a 200-hour teacher training be better online? Because one of the myths is that online teacher trainings are not nearly as good as in person, and pros and cons of both. But Jack, what are some benefits to an online YTT?
When the pandemic happened, I knew that we were going to pivot, but I didn't know how good it was going to be. But I'll tell you, man, in so many ways, it's better. There's so many people that are able to participate that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to, because they can't fly to India or come here to Canada or Peru or whatever. So literally, you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You do it at your own pace. I would suggest that our curriculum is even higher quality because we've recorded it in the studio, all of the lectures, versus, what if in India I'm having an off day because I had too many chapatis for breakfast, but it's like, hey, all of these videos are like high quality, ready to rock. If you got to run to the bathroom, if you do that at a live training, you miss whatever you miss here. So I would say like our graduates are coming out more confident, more capable in having the knowledge. And actually, I would say the way that people are coming together, like putting people into small teams and supporting one another, it's in so many ways, like we're even when everything goes back to normal, we'll continue to do online because it's very effective.
Nice. Yeah. And there's lots of stuff that you mentioned that, we went to India with you, right? And I had accidentally had 1 cup of water that was from the water on the table, and that put me out for 2 days. So I missed the Ayurveda certification. So I only got 5 of the 10 hours that we needed, missed a bunch of the other trainings. And the other benefit is that all of your students going through Happy Jack Yoga University, they know exactly where they need to go to get the information. So as they're training and they might forget something, right? Because people forget things. It's not necessarily about, I did the certification, at least in my experience, right? It's, I need to go get this piece of information. Where is it? Oh, I know it's in Happy Jack Yoga University at this point, and they have a video on it, right? And so it's a way more powerful experience, can be a way more powerful experience for the students.
And I would say for us as creators, for those who are watching right now, who are, whether you're creating a 200-hour or any workshop or any program, like we use feedback. So we're going to start our third 200-hour online here soon. Every time a student has a question for us, it's like, I remember in the first training, somebody's like, well, what is the meaning of Om? And probably something I would have talked about in person, but now it's like, oh, cool, I'll create a video about that. So now every time a student has a question, we record a video, and just like we keep adding to the curriculum, and it just keeps more full. And eventually there's no FAQ. Like we answer every question somebody could have.
Yeah, that's one of the Khan Academy, the guy who's started the online thing years ago. Bill Gates gave him $100 million, said that, I can do a perfect lecture. And then now I've done the perfect lecture one time, and then it's there. Yeah. Right. Versus, when I grew up in school, it was probably the same way for you. We had a social studies teacher. That social studies teacher gave 7 lectures a day or whatever, 6, whatever. And it was the same content, same lecture, varies different in quality, right? After lunch, probably a little sluggish, right? Like you were saying. And so way more powerful. And you can always refine it, right? Oh, I forgot to say this thing. I'm going to go add it, make it better. So 200-hour. Let's see if we can pick up the pace here. But you and I are like to be thorough, we'll say. So we hit on a couple of these. How is it? And Jack, you can speak to this. How can you make money and travel to cool places teaching yoga?
Just simple, do it. Of course, things are a little bit different now, but I'll tell you, as a brand new yoga teacher, literally just got I should say before I even had a proper yoga certification, I scheduled my first retreat in Mexico, actually 2 retreats. And just like I had a passion to go and do it. So I was just telling my students, hey, I'm going to do it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go surfing. We're going to practice yoga. We're going to go swimming. We're going to eat healthy food. Just decide what you want to do, schedule it. I like the thing that Leland teaches, which is to test it. Like, why not put it out there? Message your social media, message your email list. Like, hey, I'm really thinking about this cool retreat. And maybe with things the way it is in the world right now, you don't go to the other side of the world, but you could still do a local retreat. Our friend here, Leland, is actually creating a retreat center in the US. We'll have to hear more about that when there's more details, but there's other local options. So I would say, how do you do it? You just do it. It doesn't, and don't hide behind like, oh, you have to have a certain amount of experience. Because that was like the first thing I did. The first thing I did was start leading yoga retreats as a brand new yoga teacher.
Nice. Yeah. What about running retreats, Jack? Because you've run some retreats in India do you have any advice for people who would want to run their first retreat? I know we actually have a whole training on this, but just, who's the first person you call if you want to run a retreat in India or Costa Rica?
Who's the first person? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is what you taught us, Leland, which is the waiting list. It's like essentially send an email to all of either email your list, put out to your social media, be like, hey, I'm really thinking about this India retreat. Here's the approximate dates. Here's kind of the theme, what we're going to do. Reply back if you have interest. And if it's crickets, well, then there's no point investing a bunch of time and resources to line it up. But if you have overwhelming feedback of like, oh, hell yes, I want to go and do this, then to go pursue it. If you're serious about doing like an international retreat, I'd say, connect with us about our program, Sell Out Your Yoga Retreat. Because actually me and Sarah Beth, we break down everything that we've both done to rock and sell out yoga retreats.
Yeah, we need to talk about that more in the YBB because it's one of those gems that doesn't get enough attention. So, all right. So how to make money, travel to cool places, how to clone yourself online, Jack. And so we had this with 2 different ways for yoga teachers. So you can clone yourself online teaching, which is awesome. I guess 3 ways now because of, you do education. So you can clone yourself online teaching. Here's my yoga class, do my yoga class. I'm teaching you yoga, you're doing yoga. right? You can record yourself educating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jack's an educator. Happy Jack Yoga University is all education based. And then you can record yourself selling.
Yeah.
Right. So the sales process. And so one of the powerful things about an online business that a lot of people don't realize is that the benefit is cloning yourself in those three categories, right? Teaching, educating, and the sales process.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, you think about it, like a lot of times artists, yogis, we could have an aversion to wanting to sell or promote ourselves. But just like you were saying with the lecture and getting the perfect lecture, the same thing is possible here. It's like, whether it takes you 5 takes or 35 takes, keep working at it until you get that perfect little 60-second, 3-minute, whatever promo video of essentially I wouldn't even call it selling. You're just like sharing about what it is that you offer. But then that video and that opt-in page, is working 24/7 for you while you're sleeping, while you're sick, while you're, whatever's going on. And it's your best presentation. So I'm just going to add in also, like, keep practicing being on video. Like it's like you were saying at the start of this live. It's like, oh, we used to be nervous doing this, and sometimes we still get nervous. But like the more that you do it, the more consistent, the more easy it gets, and just keep doing it. That goes with sales videos, with yoga videos, with everything.
Yeah. You always start off ugly. I tell myself that just because it gives me permission to get started, right? Because then you'll improve it as you go. So, all right. So the next one of the epiphanies that came out, or the aha moments, was the secrets of Sarah Beth Yoga's challenges and that help her grow so fast. So we'll touch on that real quick. But anybody who's been with us for the YBB, we like doing challenges. We talked on it a little bit, and Sarah Beth has kind of a sophisticated, I guess, process for how each video operates individually. Each video is its own sales funnel. You go through it one time, and then we also make it evergreen. So then you can go through it. Anybody can go through it at any point, and it will drive to the membership. But we've dubbed it the onion strategy. I don't know if Jack's heard us say this, but because there's multiple layers to the benefits of doing a challenge, like the way that we teach it, because you can do a challenge one time and you can get some benefit out of it. But if you do it at a really high level, and Jack's actually become probably more of a master than me at this, because he's done challenges almost every month for the last 6 or 7 months. But the understanding how YouTube works and then using your challenge to feed your YouTube in a way that's really powerful. One of the things that came out in the YBB was that Sarah Beth Yoga, once you understand the inner workings of her challenges, is very, very high level. I'm not going to be able to do justice explaining it because we have 70 videos that explain it in a longer period. But yeah, so one of the things, we do challenges, but it's not just the challenge. It's the evergreenness of each video, the funnels that are underneath the videos. Yeah, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
All right. So how consistent is consistent? So we talked about that a little bit. That's an individual question. The bare ass minimum, the BAM, is once per week if you're going on YouTube, but it depends on your target monthly income for your business. What is batch filming and why should you do it? Jack.
Yeah. I get, like we were talking the other day, I get this conceptually. I'm not doing it physically. I haven't mastered it. But what it is, my commitment starting April, that's today, is to put out a weekly YouTube video, get back into that routine. If I have to record a unique video each week, some weeks it's going to happen. Some weeks I'm just going to be feeling off and just don't feel like getting behind the camera. So what batch filming is waiting until, scheduling a day when I'm feeling good and recording like 10 or 20 videos. And now all of a sudden I've got content for the next 10 or 20 weeks. And you get that all scheduled out so you don't have to get in the studio, be feeling 100% on that regular basis. That's what it is. I have yet to do it, I'm being honest, but I totally see the value because it's a big commitment to have to get behind the camera every single week to get that video out.
Yeah. And so one of the things that, it's not just filming. And that's what a lot of people think when they're getting into YouTube. And if you really start treating it, Jack's business isn't driven by YouTube the way that Sarah Beth Yoga is driven by YouTube. So they're different animals, right? But it's not just filming a video and then uploading it to YouTube. That's what people think it is, but it's filming a video and then uploading it to YouTube with really good strategy. So good titles, good descriptions, good tags, good thumbnail. And then you have to upload it at a certain time because there's time on YouTube where more people are available to watch it, which means if more people watch it, it performs better. And then you have to write and schedule an email because you want to send an email to your list to go watch the video at the right time. Right. So each video becomes like 6 things. And it's not, you can't just, and then also if you add social media posts, this is why we don't add social media posts, because they would be, in terms of importance, they would be lower on the post for us. But then you add social media posts to get people to go watch your YouTube videos. And it gets really complicated. But if you batch film, this is my personal belief. My brain works once my brain gets going in one direction, it's easier to stay in that direction. So if I'm in a filming mindset, it's easier for me to film a lot. If I'm in a writing emails mindset, it's easier for me to write a lot. If I'm doing SEO, it's easier for me to do SEO a lot. There's a good podcast that used to be called The Productivist, that was all about productivity. And one of the things that he taught, Jack, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. He would theme days. So today's my email writing day. Today's my podcast filming day. Today's my editing day. And the thought was that the brain's going to be working in this path and it's easier to stay in that path throughout the day versus shifting gears has a cost.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. I haven't got there myself personally. I'll often allocate chunks of time or blocks of time for, usually the first couple of hours of the day is to do the most important thing, whether that's writing emails or recording content. But I think it makes total sense. You just kind of get in that flow. I can say whenever we're creating a training, and now it's not uncommon to have 100+ videos for a training, and we're putting out a training every month. So, and I'll record those 100 videos in a week. So that week I'm in the flow. I go to the gym, I work out, I do my yoga meditation, and then I hit the camera and I record until my voice is starting to get tired. And then say, okay, I'll wait till the next day and I do it again. So I guess in that sense, I'm forced to have those kind of video recording productivity days. But that's interesting to create your whole calendar that way. I think anytime we're bringing intention to our life, there's value. It's okay, I'm intentionally working on videos. I'm intentionally doing writing. That sounds cool.
Yeah, and I've just personally found it just from we'll just talk about batches and theming for a little bit, but knowing that my brain needs to be a certain way at a certain time helps my brain be that way at that time. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
And yes. So even right now I have in the afternoons after I eat lunch, I have some rest time, but then I have my big projects stuff, which it's a different way of thinking than writing emails and, than I guess this stuff than the YBB stuff. And so planning ahead or knowing what type of what gears your brain needs to be in order to be the best during that task. That's the thought process behind it. And it's helpful for people who are doing YouTube type stuff too, because you are going to be in different gears consistently, but understanding the gears that you want to be in and just kind of optimizing for them. So we got a couple more here and then we're going to wrap it up. So what's one tip that you had for building your email list fast and easy? One tip. And I'll share Leah's because this was Leah's epiphany was that you only need one good landing page or one good free gift to build your email list fast and easy. And so she created a good free gift, and then she goes into Facebook groups and does we call it organic attraction, and people come to her Facebook group, join her email list, and she was surprised at how easy it was. But so what's one tip that you might share, Jack, for growing your email list fast and easy?
Yeah, well, the first thing is making it a priority. I mean, that's what we did right from the beginning. 10 years now, even though it was slow growing, every time I taught a class, a workshop, a festival, a conference, anytime I met somebody at a Starbucks line or on the subway, my goal was to get their email address. My goal was to be able, and not just get their business card or not give them my business card, but actually get their email address to grow that list. So I'd say the first thing is make a decision for it to be a priority. what has been the biggest way to grow it? I would say, hey, there's Leah. She's saying, hey, I would say the biggest way is proximity partners and affiliate partners. We've had a great complementary partnership with Sarah Beth Yoga, which has been great. We've done now the same with Tony Robbins teaching on his stage. That's great. So, and by the way, it took a lot of years to kind of to do the work, to be in a position to create those partnerships. And that's why we create the Dream 100. But I'll tell you what, sometimes, like Leah, who's on here live right now, she just randomly reached out to a local yoga studio in Ottawa, her hometown. And she's like, hey, I'm part of Happy Jack Yoga University. We do online teacher training. I know your yoga studio can't offer it right now. And we had a little conversation. They get a sale. We just sent them a nice check today. And so I would say, yeah, partnerships is a really great opportunity.
Yeah, well, and even to piggyback on that, because I love referrals, but by Leah going and talking to the studio and the studio saying, hey, go do this online studio, the studio is actually like talking to all their friends, their close network, right? And so they're referring their friends, and those referrals are the quick. What do they say? They buy the quickest, they object the less. They're the easiest sales to make. And it's really powerful. If you don't know what to do, go find a partner that you can help.
And it doesn't cost anything. This is the cool thing, right? What's Leah saying? Yeah, Leah, I'm obsessed with proximity partners right now, and she is.
Yeah, we got to tell her about. Yeah, we're gonna teach you how to buy and sell those proximity partners with no money down. That's the next step, and it's way more fun. It's not way more fun. It's the next step, though. All right, so I've got 3 other tips here. Or question. So this was mine. So why newsletters suck? So the reason I added my epiphany of why newsletters suck is that the concept or the idea of a newsletter typically is you're sending out an email updating everybody on your life. That's typically how newsletters work, is that I have an email list. I'm going to send an email to my email list, and I'm going to say, here's the 20 things I'm doing this month, right? And then as I learn the 20 things that I'm doing this month, then that person is just overwhelmed, right? There's just too much information. It's not useful. So newsletters aren't super productive for moving the needle for your business. And so Jack and I actually, when we first started working together, Jack was still doing newsletters. And so I know you still do weekly newsletters for your members, which is a little bit different. But the reason that we don't like newsletters and what we'd recommend you do instead is most profitable click, right? So when you send an email, write it and make it appear as if you're writing to a friend. You don't want a bunch of images. You don't want a bunch of buttons, because that turns people off. It just doesn't work as well as all of the best marketers. If you're on their email list, they all write like they're just writing to a friend. Short, no images, no buttons, right? And then a concept called your most profitable click. And so your most profitable click is when you send an email, there's only one click that's going to make you the most money, right? Or one action that you want them to take, right? It's not always about money. There's always one action that you want them to take. There's not 10 actions that you want them to take, right? You don't want them to go to your Facebook and your YouTube and your Instagram and like your posts and your website. You don't want them to do all those things. You want them to go one place. So really dialing in with your emails, what is your most profitable click? And then getting rid of the idea of a newsletter, right? Of a newspaper that you're sending to your people that's telling all of the stories. That's my take on newsletters, Jack. What has been your kind of evolution on email marketing in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And just to clarify, just so people understand, when you say newsletter, you're talking about like an email that's created like a newspaper newsletter where, hey, here's the story, here's the upcoming events, here's the latest video, here's the blog post, here's the recipe, and it's just a whole bunch of information going in many different directions. So you're saying it's more of an intentional message, which I totally agree with, because we used to do newsletters, and thanks to you, now it's every email is either, depending on your business, either it's driving people to your YouTube channel so people see that latest YouTube video that just got posted, or even more often, it's going to some landing page where they can take action.
Buy a product, right? Or what? Yeah, buy a product, but you don't want to. And I would say the biggest change that you can make, but just the mindset shift between a newsletter and just like what I would consider a normal email or a broadcast is spotlight theory, right? We talk a lot about spotlight theory. So people who don't know what spotlight theory is when you're typing your email, are you typing it for the person who's reading it? So am I saying, you opened it, I'm so happy to see you. I have a great offer for you. You will really like this. You, because I'm talking to Jack. Or, and this is the mistake that people make with newsletters, is they talk about me. So I would write an email to Jack, but I would say, hey, Jack, I wanted to tell you what I'm up to. I'm going to Peru this month, and I'm going over here, and I'm doing this, and click here to buy the thing that I'm doing. Versus saying, Jack, like, you want to go to Peru, you want this great experience, you've been wanting to have this spiritual immersion experience your whole life, and I have the perfect deal for you, and it's only available for a short period of time. Click here. That the spotlight theory really solves the problem of newsletters, because you wouldn't send a newsletter to somebody if you really cared about them. Like, I mean, it wouldn't, the frame on it wouldn't be about you. It would all be about them. And as long as it's all about them, you're on the right path, right? You're not making just the normal mistakes, because you're talking about how you can help them, how you can serve them. That's the biggest mistake people make, in my opinion, with newsletters or emails in general. And so I got one more question, one more comment, and it was so it's along the same lines, I guess. But this was my epiphany and it was why I believe, and I put an asterisk for me, but why I believe websites generally suck. And it's not. A lot of people have websites, and we talk a lot about artists and managers and the different personalities that go online and create businesses. Now, for people who are getting started, a lot of times they think the first action that they should take is to build a website. And so one of the epiphanies that I had was that you actually don't need a website at all to run a very, very successful business. You don't need a website. You actually don't need a landing page or emails. You don't need any of that stuff. You need a really, really compelling offer, right? And then after that, you need to be really good at what you do. Because if you're good at those two things, people will find you. If I work with people and I get them incredible results, the first thing that they're going to do is go tell their friends, and their friends are going to call me, right? They don't need to go to my website, right? And them going to my website isn't going to make them think that I'm good at my job, right? So the reason that I don't like websites mostly is because they're prioritized way out of whack, in my opinion. The priority should be get really, really good at what you do, and then start building your email list, right? And that should be basically it. Everything else you can just get out of the way. But websites are this elusive thing that people think that they need. And so I think that for me, it's a myth that I would like to dispel. You don't need a website. You can build a very, very profitable business without one. And if you have one, I would also suggest that the strategy is not to send your traffic to your website. If you have people on your email list, you'd want to go send them to a buy button. And that's not the same as a website, right? And so anyway, so my aha moment that I was sharing and the question that I wanted to address was, you don't need a website. And websites are often counterproductive towards the outcome of your customer. I know Jack's heard me on the soapbox many times. So.
I agree, man. I agree. We've built, I've used Squarespace, we've used WordPress, now we've got Kajabi. To give you an example, on WordPress, I spent $8,000 building this beautiful website, and it had everything. All of our team members were there, and the photos and their bios, every training we've got coming up, every training we've ever done. It was like something to be proud of. It's like, hey, here's my autobiography. But reality is, like you say, spotlight theory, people don't give a shit about your autobiography or, about your grandpa starting the business or whatever it doesn't matter. And so there was this WordPress. Yes, WordPress was free, but we spent $8,000 in having it built. And now Kajabi, yes, there's a monthly fee, however, now it's Kajabi. You can build a website there, but the coolest thing is it's got all the opt-in pages. So all your landing pages, and it manages your email list and so you can send out emails and you can receive payments, and essentially everything right there to build, monthly recurring revenue. So I would look at a platform. Of course, we're biased with Kajabi, but a platform to do so you get the opt-in, you get the email, and you can sell the irresistible offer. Forget about the beautiful web page with all the videos and all that. Yeah, I wish somebody told me that at the beginning. So now you know.
Yeah, well, and again, the thing that people miss here, because we've been doing it long enough now, where it's like, I wish I'd got this sooner. I wish I'd got this sooner. But if you understand that your email list is going to be your money long term, meaning if you have 100,000 or 1 million people on an email list, it's really easy to have a really profitable business, or even 1,000, 10,000. It's way easier. And so the reason that the website myth exists is because people think that they need a website when they should be building their email list. And so you don't send people to your website, you send them to a landing page and you give them something free, and then you add value. It's like shocking. Add a bunch of value and then they'll buy your stuff. It's like the magical formula.
And I think, honestly, it's another way to procrastinate as well. I think there's a deep fear that all of us have. It's, there's a fear of putting ourselves out there, whether it's teaching a class in person or getting on video to share. There's a resistance to doing the thing that actually matters. So, but it's easy to sit at home and spend months or even a year. We spent a year building a website. Thankfully we were still teaching on the side. But it's so easy to get caught up in the perfect text. The reality is that website never made us a penny. 0, 0, 0 in many, many years. So I'm so happy that you bring this up. And by the way, if anybody's interested in Kajabi, shoot Leland a message, because I think we can get people a free trial, and then it's just a great way to test it out and see if it works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a great note to end on. So a lot of questions. If you guys have more questions, feel free to just drop them in any of the chat boxes, wherever you're watching, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, or respond to the email, and we will either answer them next week or sometime in the future. And if you're looking for help coaching and you want to grow your online fitness or your yoga business, we have the best program in the world for yoga teachers. So join our 6-month accelerator. Leave us a message and we can send you a link and send you a quick promo video and tell you what it's about. But we'd love to help you earn a full-time living online teaching yoga. So yeah. Jack, any other last comments before we close out here?
That's it. That's perfect. Thanks for taking the time today, man. Now I would invite everybody to go and take some action, because it's one thing to watch a video and join us for a conversation, but now go take some action, because it's the little steps that we do every day that lead to the big thing at the end. So let's go crush it, and we'll be back again next week.